I used to think that self care meant like taking bubble baths, coloring my hair, getting facials, but those kinds of things didn't necessarily help me to feel better about myself. It was more like a temporary feel good kind of thing. Now that I'm older, I've realized that the type of self care that builds confidence really looks much different. I started taking better care of myself in my mid 30s when I finally started working out regularly, eating a little bit better, and that was really a form of self-care for me that has become something that I do all the time. It's one of my habits, but it really solidified more for me in my mid to late 40s, as I started thinking about aging and longevity. And now, what self care looks like for me is regular training. So, I'm a runner and I run 3 times a week right now. And I also lift to make sure that my body is strong, that I have mobility going into my older years. And my nutrition is very different from what it used to be. I used to really focus on weight loss. That was really what started my whole health and fitness journey, was because I wanted to lose weight. But now that I'm older, that's not as much of a priority. I'm at a healthy weight. I feel really good. And so I really just focus my nutrition on supporting my running, supporting my lifting, and really just supporting my overall energy. Another thing that plays into energy is sleep and rest. That's another thing that I used to really neglect. I would, stay up late to get work done or to watch Netflix or to read a book. Now I know that my sleep is really important. And so I make sure that I get a good amount of sleep so that I can support all of the activities that I'm doing. Those are all the forms of self care that I really practice that will help to keep me going, keep me feeling good, and it's not necessarily like a one and done kind of thing. Another thing that I really focus on is setting those action goals that I've mentioned a few times now. And action goals are when you actually set up a plan and you follow it. So you take action. And for me, I have a lot of different action goals, but just staying on the theme of fitness, my action goals are to follow the plan that I have set up for myself for running. And that consists of one speed workout a week, one really slow, easy run, and then a long run on the weekend. And so those are my action goals, to do those 3 runs every week. And sometimes something gets in the way. Sometimes I have to juggle my schedule around. Like this week, I have a little bit of travel. And so I shifted my days a little bit to make sure that I could accomplish all of those action goals. But doing that, first of all, shows you have respect for yourself. And self respect is a really big piece of self care. Now, one thing that I've learned over the past few years is not to focus so much on the things that don't matter as much. And for me, thinking about like my action goals, they usually lead up to a bigger goal. So maybe there's a race that I want to run, or maybe there is a certain pace that I'm trying to complete. Those are goals for me, but I don't focus so much on those because I don't necessarily have control over that. I have control over my action goals. I have control over whether or not I do those 3 runs a week. And again, this can apply to anything. Maybe you have a goal of going back to school and graduating. And so it's the action goals that will get you there. So looking into different programs, applying, researching financial aid, and then actually when you get to school, the action goals are doing the work. So showing up to classes, doing your assignments, studying, all of those things are action goals that will get you to that big goal. But if you just constantly were thinking about that end goal of graduating, if you're not doing the action goals, you're not going to get there. So it's really, it makes much more sense, and it's much more caring to yourself to set up a plan, set up those action goals, and then follow them. And it really does make a difference, and it ultimately will lead you to that big goal. But again, focusing on the smaller steps can really make a huge difference for you. Self care also means doing things that you actually enjoy. So finding hobbies, activities, habits, things that really fuel your fire. You know what I mean? Like, really, you get excited about them. For me, obviously, running. But I also really enjoy my lifting workouts. I enjoy yoga. I enjoy reading. I enjoy writing. I write my articles every week. I write poetry. I still have that novel that's kind of sitting there waiting for me, but I do enjoy different styles of writing. And so I make time to do those things. Creating this content, this has been something that I just started in January. So we're almost to 3 months now, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy the just sort of the repetition of, like, I have a schedule that I follow. So I really enjoy just doing that, feeling like I'm being productive and, helping people. And I hope that you do find this content to be helpful. I'm not selling anything. I'm not trying to like recruit anybody for anything. I just really like to share some of the stuff that I've learned that's been helpful for me, because I hope that it could be helpful to people who are watching. And so those kinds of things really bring me joy. So thinking about things that you really enjoy, and it doesn't have to be like, I know I talk about running and fitness a lot because those are the things that really light me up. But what lights you up? Can you make time for it? Can you set some small goals around it? Can you create a plan around it and follow it so that you feel like you're kind of working towards something, usually having some sort of goal in mind, starting with a bigger goal and then setting up those action goals to focus on, can really get you excited and feeling accomplished and feeling like you're doing something for yourself. And that's really what self-care is all about. One of the biggest connections I've noticed has been the connection between those action goals and confidence. And building your confidence really is a wonderful form of self care. When you focus on those action goals and you actually complete them, like say you have a schedule where whatever your thing is that you enjoy, you've set up action goals that you complete 3 times a week. Each time you can check those off, it feels really good. You start to build that sense of accomplishment. You start to feel like you're working towards something. And that really starts to build your confidence because you're learning that you can trust yourself. And I know for me, for many, many years, I felt like I couldn't trust myself. I was a college dropout in my 20s. I felt like I just never, I would start things and not finish them. And I just started to feel like that was my story. When I went back to college in my, I think it was like my late 20s, early 30s, when I went back and started taking classes, I worked really hard and I started to show myself like, you know what, you can do this, and you're not a quitter and you're not somebody who doesn't finish things. You just need to focus on those smaller pieces and just putting one foot in front of the other and just getting it done, getting the work done, focusing in on those action goals. And as I started to do that, it really built my confidence. And for somebody who, felt like a loser pretty much all through my 20s, seeing all of my other friends like graduating from college, getting these amazing jobs, going on to advanced degrees. And here I was like, not finishing college and working sort of like dead end jobs. When I finally went back and started to feel that sense of accomplishment, and then I graduated, and I actually graduated highest honors. And that was really exciting because, I went from feeling like a loser to feeling like, oh, wow, like look at what I accomplished. And I went on to get an advanced degree and I went on to get some really fantastic jobs that I really enjoy. So, you see what I'm saying? Like that really does start to build your confidence when you just start focusing on those small steps, those small action goals that get you towards that larger goal. And each time you show up for yourself, you're just proving to yourself that you can rely on you. And as you continue to do that, those smaller little goals that you're working on, those smaller actions will start to compound, and that's where you start to build progress. And when you start to build that progress and momentum, it just, you feel like you're on top of the world. It just makes you feel like you can accomplish anything. And that's, I mean, what's a better form of self-care than feeling so amazing and feeling like you have so much belief in yourself. Now, there are some activities that I still do sometimes, but aren't necessarily the best for us. A few examples that I can think of is like scrolling through my phone. I mean, there are some times where, I've just finished my work day and I just want to decompress and I'll, kind of scroll through my phone. That, I feel like that's just sort of like a time to relax, and that's fine. But then there are other times where I've just been doing it for a really long time, or I'm scrolling when I should be going to sleep. I have talked about how my sleep is important to me, but there are nights where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's getting so late. Why am I doing that? And I think it's important to take notice of that and try to break that habit when you can. It doesn't mean that it's bad, and it doesn't mean it's bad for you, or that you're wasting time or anything like that. It's just notice those things that are kind of sucking time and maybe taking away from some of those other action goals that you have. One of my action goals is to get to sleep at a reasonable time and to get a reasonable amount of sleep. So if I'm doing something that's cutting into that, then that's sort of taking away from my self care. Retail therapy is another one. I've always been somebody who I love to buy things, and you can see, in my office behind me, these obviously are my race medals. Not all of them; these are just my Disney ones. And then over here, I have a lot of collectibles. I'm a huge fan of The Office. I have a ton of like those little pops and signs and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, there are lots of things that I enjoy buying, but I've really had to pay attention to that as well, because obviously, if you spend too much money, you don't have money for your bills and things that are important. So, that's another thing that while it may feel good in the moment, it's important to just notice those habits and notice if it's getting in the way of other things that are important to you. And that's something that I've been really working on over the years, and feel like it's really helped me to become a better person, a more responsible person, and just to really feel better about myself overall. In midlife, I feel like self care has just become more intentional. When I was younger, I feel like it was more about like my appearance. Like self care was like going to get my hair or my nails done, getting a facial, maybe getting a massage. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but those are more like temporary. And of course, yes, they do feel good, and it's absolutely important to take care of yourself in that way. But when we're talking about self care holistically, it's about caring for yourself, taking care of the person who you are, and not necessarily just like what you look like. The other piece of that for me, and I think for many women in my age group, is comparing yourself. For a very, very long time, I fought with my hair, my curls. I still get frustrated with them sometimes, but I was always looking at other women who had this like long, sleek, beautiful hair. And I think for a long time, we've been told that that was like the norm and that was the standard. And I straightened my hair for a long time. I colored my hair for a long time. And now that I'm approaching 50, I don't care. Like, I know that sounds awful, but I just don't care about that anymore. I don't look terrible with curly gray hair. I don't look like other people, most other people, but that's okay. I'm me. And I think that's really what you start to like kind of come into your own when you get a little bit older, because you start to like not care about that kind of stuff. So for me, I think that stopping that comparison game has made a really, really big difference. And I think we're so hard on ourselves, and we do tend to compare ourselves to people who have other better jobs, better salaries, different styles of education, what they drive, how fast they run. Like, there are so many different things that we can compare ourselves to, and when we can start setting that aside and just comparing just to ourselves, looking at what we can accomplish, looking at how we can get just a little bit better each day, that's where the real self care and the real confidence comes in. If someone were to come to me and ask, like, how do I get started with this type of self care? What I would recommend is that you pick one thing that you either really enjoy doing or that you would like to learn. So let's say that you want to learn how to play the piano. You would want to set up action goals. So, a few that come to mind is make sure you have access to a piano or a keyboard. Maybe look for either lessons, a teacher. I know there are even like some programs on YouTube, or different apps that you can purchase. So decide which of those routes you want to take and commit to it, and then set up a practice schedule. So maybe you practice for 20 minutes a day, or maybe you don't have time to do that, so maybe you do like a longer session on the weekend. But figure out what's manageable for you, set up a schedule, and then follow it. It's pretty simple. And you could maybe set a larger goal, like maybe there's a certain piece of music that you'd really like to be able to play by the end of the year or something like that. You can set a goal like that, but you really want to focus on the plan. taking action, following that schedule. And of course, life is going to get in the way sometimes, and that's okay. You just need to be prepared for that and figure out a way to overcome it. And again, there are some people who, I'm going to get back to running again, but there are some people who really want to run a 5K. I've had many women over the years ask me um, ask me about running a 5K. It's something they've always wanted to do, but they feel nervous about it. They don't know if they can do it. They don't know if they're fast enough. And so, for that goal, I would say, okay, pick a 5K and sign up for it, and maybe it's a year from now, or maybe it's just a few months from now, whatever it is. Then you set up a training plan, and there are tons of training plans out there. There are running coaches who you can hire. There are running groups that you can join. Decide what's going to work best for you, and then whatever running schedule and training schedule you come up with, you stick to it. If you have to juggle days around some weeks, it's not a big deal, but you do those runs every time that they're scheduled, and you just follow that. You focus on those actions, and that is what is going to get you to that goal. And again, it's such a great form of self care to build your confidence, to feel really good about what you're doing, and feeling like you're just really just creating something for yourself. Self care isn't just about escaping stress. That's important. And, absolutely, you want to be able to de stress. So take your bubble baths, go get your hair done, get your nails done, get your facials, whatever makes you feel good and just kind of helps you like escape for a little while. That's great. But it is also just a small piece of the self care puzzle. You also want to make sure that you're taking care of your body and your mind in a way that is going to sustain you. So, great proper nutrition, moving your body in a way that feels good, whether it's, taking long walks, doing yoga, running, whatever it is that you enjoy. But exercise is very important. And it doesn't have to be anything strenuous or crazy, but moving your body really does help increase your longevity. It has a myriad of health benefits, and just it just feels good. It helps to boost your endorphins. There are so many reasons to exercise, but that is a really important piece of self-care. Hydration, nutrition, all of those things. But I think the simplest way to really kind of boost your self-care and to really start feeling good about yourself and build your confidence is to choose that one activity, like we were just talking about, and set, maybe a bigger goal, but then take a step back, create a plan, and then really focus on those action goals so that you can really start to build up that confidence. And as you do that, it's going to really open up so many other things for you. So, again, like I know I talk about running a lot, but that's just kind of where I'm at right now. When I first ran my very first Run Disney race, and I think this is the experience for a lot of people, I was really excited after I ran it. And I was like, okay, let's do another one. Choosing that one thing and then following through on it consistently can really help you to build up your confidence, and it's also going to help you to feel really strong and capable, which can help to really boost your mental health. And that's essential, and anything that you can do to boost your health, boost your mental health, your physical health, that is true self care. And so I would really encourage you to find something that you would like to try, build a plan, and go for it. And I'd love to hear about it. So, please post it in the comments below, reach out to me on social media if you'd like. And I would just love to hear what you're working on.